Hello, I am Oliver Marvin, and I'm doing my director's commentary for the short film I've written, directed, 90% filmed, edited myself, titled "Who Killed Millie Bennett." Millie Bennett is Who Killed Millie Bennett is a murder mystery short film in sort of the veins of Broadchurch. And I shall begin with the commentary. So, watching the video now. So, the short film opens up with a piece of Doctor Who music, which I thought set the scene quite well, and it, like, from first watching, you can't tell it's a murder mystery. The scream and glass sound effect were stock sounds, which I got off YouTube. And the other sort of allusion here is these are two different locations. The garden is in a completely different place to the house. There's quite a nice little cover up there, whereas one of the clips I'd originally shot was a bit blurry, so instead I've used this clip of the equipment moving around. And again, this is a sort of another shot where these people weren't actually in the room at the same time due to constraints, time constraints mainly. So there's only one exception, I think, was when we did a reshoot later on in the film, in which we did have more Officer Baker, played by David Ingram, return to do a few more odd lines with Lewis Coles, who you'll see in a minute. The scene's pretty well. Few different angles, few different choices. All the characters, or the actors and actresses, play the characters sort of how I imagine them. But yeah, so originally this was actually supposed to be set in the television studio at college, with equipment used from the radio room. But when I went to go film, the only day I could get my actress in was the one day I couldn't get the studio. So that involved quite a big change up in the way of sort of having to change it with like location stuff. This was also evident for one of the other shoots later on, in which I couldn't get one of the classrooms, so I had to use the edit suite at college. But yeah, I quite like this scene. It's not too OTT, it explains the story well. Yeah, quite a lot of. I've made it so it's quite slow to start with, obviously, because it's come after the murder of the young child, so obviously they're not going to be in the best of moods. Nice little dip to black, and going off to the computer bit. This bit has been quite hard trying to make it actually sound like it's coming from the computer, because it was actually this shot before the whole interview scene happened. And actually in the version I'm watching, this is a slightly unfinished version, as I'm still waiting on some scenes. But this scene will be the security camera footage, which was shot during the filming of the actual thing on a shelf in both rooms. Yeah, so like I said, so actually I can't see this bit at the moment, but it will be added on by the time it has been submitted / uploaded. I quite like the shots looking down at the keyboard and the mouse for pausing and stuff. I think it worked quite well. And yeah, I think if I was to refilm this scene again, I'd get in extras to be on the other computers and add some like background sounds. Again, this is a bit of a cover-up. The pictures hadn't been taken by this point because of weather and awaiting props. So it's actually blank pieces of paper, but when they talk about the photos, it's actually they're actually seen on screen. And like I said, this is actually shot in a completely different place to the house but I've made it so you can't see the house in this one, and you can't see the house, the garden in the other shot. That is a fake arm. Originally, I wasn't going to have something like that, but my tutor said it would be a lot more suspenseful if you could see the body. DCI Holland makes his first appearance. It's played by Josh Cuthbert. And for someone who wasn't comfortable with acting, I think Josh was very good. He plays him as quite the... You do get this sort of appeal of, oh, this guy's actually quite scary, especially to the two officers. And he's sort of very much a DCI from something like a film noir or a neo-noir. One of my favourite lines there with David going, "He is a twat." That's something I think kind of changed between drafts was David's character, Officer Baker, became a lot less cocky, mainly just because of time constraints. I sort of needed more of his lines to actually be story related rather than character based. So if I was ever to do like a longer version, I'd definitely give him a bit more character. So we cut now to the flashback scenes, and this was actually the first proper bit to be edited, and it's one of my favourite scenes, because of all the sort of it's a lot of like mini scenes put together. So we have our three suspects who are cleared easily in it. Again, like this shot where they're looking over the police files. That was sort of a... that was sort of planned right from the beginning of I wanted this shot where you were supposed to see the police files. Originally, I've actually filmed that bit twice. The original one was just David looking over it, but I didn't like how it sort of came out, so I changed it. Again, sort of this bit with like the silent dialogue and stuff worked quite well. My first use of green screen, well, I say first use for this film, appears there for the security camera. This scene was very much a last minute thing. This was supposed to be filmed up when we were at Chadlington filming the village hall scenes, which you'll see later on, but was cut for time constraints. So in the end, I went one day I was at just the pub and just got a quick cutaway shot, which is it's actually slowed down to fit the time a bit more. So I think that's something I'd change. Again, this is probably my favourite scene from the whole thing, because it's more green screen, and I've built up the sounds a lot more with the camera clicks, and there's also like people nuttering in the background, which was added in. Yeah, I mean, it's very much... Originally, it was actually supposed to be... this originally changed to being in a car with as a news report, but that was... Well, it changed from this to a news report, then it went back to this, because I decided I didn't like the news report bit. This bit, I think, needs a bit more improvement. I mean, I've put on warp stabilizer to make it less shaky. But then, yeah. And then you've got this scene, which is the phone footage, and I properly made this look a bit rubbish. So it's obviously filmed the wrong way. It's filmed on a phone. It's filmed short. But then you've got like the police property do not share bit on there, which is just a simple text added on Premiere Pro. Originally, the scene was supposed to be a bit bigger. You were supposed to have a few more angles, but I had quite a few camera troubles when I got there because I'd lost my SD card, and I thought, okay, I'll film it on my phone and get some more angles. Then I ran out of space on my phone. So we had to use my sister's phone, and it just had to be that one angle in the end, which is a bit annoying. That's something I would have rather changed. And again, this is another scene where originally Dave was supposed to get a cigarette out of his pocket and look for a lighter before throwing it away and going, oh, damn, I haven't got a lighter. And it was cut for two reasons. One, again, it was part of the idea of making this character less cocky, and two, it was on the day of filming I'd lost the cigarettes. This is one of my favourite things where it stays on David a bit longer just for that facial expression. That's very much the cocky character coming out. This is one of my favourite cutaways. Cutaways are something I'm actually quite proud of for this film. Stuff like the looking at the dials. So yeah, we had the babysitter from the first scene. Originally, in original drafts, the babysitter was actually supposed to be killed off after the scene for going to the police, but that sort of made it too long-winded. It became too ridiculous, so I cut down completely. Yeah. Nothing really more to add on that scene. This was a sort of very much the last minute decision. It was filmed on the same day we filmed the opening scene. Green screen police lights. Carl, who plays the policeman, very kindly stood in the last moment. He wasn't supposed to be any actor. He was just there with one of the other actresses. But it sort of came up with this idea of, oh, this would be quite fun. And that nice little montage of the room. If you notice right at the beginning of that pan, my phone is in shot, which is annoying, but I couldn't refilm. I would involve far too much effort, and I didn't have the time. Again, this is another scene where we filmed it in 2 different days. Again, but the scene of David speaking here is actually a refilm, which is why you don't see Selena. You might have heard earlier a character named SCCO Thomas mentioned. He was actually a more major character in the original script, but he was replaced because I had to play the lawyer. The lawyer was sort of added by the idea of my tutor. These tweets are actually made by like a fake tweet generator, and added on to sort of. I wasn't sure how I'd really go do it. Originally, it would get printed out, but they came out quite awkward looking, so I sort of thought, okay, I'll put them over the screen. Yeah, so nothing to add for this scene. Sorry, I just realised there's a bit of a mistake in there. There's just a tiny bit. Let's see, green goes black, so I'll have to sort that before submitting. I think if I had to say who the best, who sort of got that character the best, it would have to be Lewis, who plays Harry Stone. He played him sort of very much how I imagined him, the sort of never 100% sober, anger management, classes type character. Yeah. But then again, I think everyone managed to sort of nail the characters. I'm not picking favourites. Especially because I did have a couple of actors who aren't from college. Selena, who plays Officer Bonham, and Emily, who played Lily Wolfe, and Carl, who was the police officer. The ending was very much changed. Originally, Harry sort of realised he'd got himself in a hole and confessed, but my tutor said, oh, don't go that route. Instead, we sort of, between us, managed to work out maybe he says something and gets arrested for assault instead. Music-wise, this was actually supposed to again have another piece of Doctor Who music on, but when I tried adding it, it didn't work as much as I thought it was going to do, which is a bit of a shame, because I did originally have this vision of this quite loud music, but I think the track I've picked now has gone quite well. And then it's over. Originally, the ending was a bit longer. You were supposed to see me fiddling through some notes and Lewis getting angry and hitting the table, but I sort of decided didn't need it. So I've just gone for this long fade of Lewis in the Lewis after he says his last line. For the actual college project, I'm not using opening titles and credits, mainly for the reason I don't have time. But I think if I ever would do, I think I'd make them look quite a bit more quite visually pleasing. One idea I did have for it was actually police files with the names of the actors and stuff. If I ever do sort of either make another version of this or upload it to YouTube, I probably will do this later on in my own time. But yes, I don't really have much else to mention on it. I think. Thank you very much for watching. Goodbye.